Hey everyone, welcome to Kayfabe 6. This is Mike, and I'm here with Dan, and we're going to be recapping and reviewing and also analyzing last night's edition of Monday Night Raw, which was the April 6th edition from Austin, Texas. So the show actually starts off with a shot of Big Show in front of his newly won Andre the Giant Battle Royal trophy. And then it skips to the rest of the group of Seth Rollins, Kane, and J&J in the ring, which Big Show joins them for. Steph and Triple H were apparently on vacation or tending to... I don't even know what. Do we even know what they were actually up to? I'm not sure they actually ever clarified what those
I'm not too
were
sure. I'm waiting to hear on the forum on what's actually happening, to be honest.
Yeah, it might have just been, I don't know, maybe just business stuff, post-Mania stuff, who knows.
Possibly.
But the show starts off with them sort of, praising each other for their victories. And it was quite humorous because, Seth obviously got praised for, winning the WWE World Heavyweight title, and Big Show obviously got praised for his victory also at Mania for the Andre the Giant Battle Royal trophy. And then there's a little bit of a humorous scene there where they kind of just look at Kane and
like, what did you do?
And Seth is kind of just like, and Kane was there or whatever. but that obviously led to a little bit of dissension briefly, and turned out that Kane decided to book a triple threat for the number one contenders. Oh, well, they were actually interrupted by Randy Orton first, obviously, calling out Seth for the fact that he may have won, but he also did lose to him at Mania with the best RKO of his career, according to Randy, anyway. And
I agree with
and
that,
though.
and
that's when Kane jumped in and demanded respect from Orton and said how there's other people that are obviously deserving of the number one title, number one contender spot, and that's why he decided to book Roman Reigns versus Ryback versus Orton later in the night in the main event. The winner would face Rollins at Extreme Rules, and essentially that was best for business. But that actually got everyone riled up, got Seth upset, and got Big Show upset, and got J&J upset. But then Kane ended up ensuring that Randy, Ryback, and Roman would come into the match all and healthy as he booked them each in a match. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I always kind of hate when guys have to go through this, these secondary matches before being in the main event. I'm not sure how you feel about it. I just feel like...
I absolutely hate it. I find it so pointless.
I just don't get... There's so much other guys, I guess, they could give that time to. You know what I mean?
No, it's true. They have a massive locker room, and then you have a developmental system with guys bursting for their main roster opportunity. There's no excuse for them to do that. And, it's... The only way I can see that possibly being, oh my God, how dare the Authority to do that, is if they were going to be entering a match with Seth. So each guy has a match earlier on in the night, and they end up all, getting beaten up, having rough matches, and then going into a title match. Then it has some sort of merit. Other than that, it was just unnecessary. And then as we go into breaking down the matches, I think Roman had the longest match.
Yeah, he did actually. And Kane Orton, they kicked off the show. Your typical Kane Orton match, really can't expect much from it. It's safe, I guess, but that's pretty much it. And ending in a DQ when Kane grabbed the chair anyway, and hit Orton in the gut with it, so he got disqualified. And then what ended up happening, he goes for the choke slam, and then Orton counters with the RKO attempt, but Kane slides out, and that's pretty much it. So that was that. So that's 1 out of the 3 down. Not anything memorable at all. They ended up following that up with the previous 3 other 2 matches and giving a shout out to AJ Lee, for her retiring and them wishing her the best, which I thought was classy. I'm really curious what the actual reason was, if she was actually just done or if the pregnancy rumors are true or not. But either way, I don't think we got a chance to really talk about that either. AJ's sudden departing from the WWE.
Yeah, that actually caught me off guard to some degree.
I think a lot of people off guard, and I think a lot of people went right back to the WrestleMania match to look for clues, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I see a GIF floating around where AJ's on the outside apron, but she's kind of out there for a long period of time. I think that might have started some of the pregnancy rumors. I'm not sure myself, and to be honest, I really haven't read up on much on what the reason was. But I mean, at the end of the day, if it's best for her life and Punk obviously them being married, then more power to her. She did a lot in a very little amount of time.
No, it's true. I really do got to give her credit because she was one of, in recent years, she brought back the Divas division in many ways.
Well, and I was kind of digging the whole dynamic with her and Paige and going up against the Bellas.
Yeah, it's true. I can't believe Twitter people on Twitter are hating on them. Like, what's there to hate? Like, they're both very talented in the ring, and they both look amazing as well.
Yeah, they both sides represent two different styles, but I also like the fact there's a little bit of heat there. It kind of gives a little bit of legitimacy to some of the promos that were spit. So I'm going to kind of miss that. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they sort of rebound from not having AJ there, and hopefully the girls are ready to sort of take it by the horn. Obviously, there's going to be a match scheduled next week with all the divas, which we'll get to later anyway.
I really hope they break away from these tag team matches with the Bellas, because it's an individual women's title, and it's all we keep seeing is tag matches. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But hopefully the Battle Royal will end all of that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, with the fact that they have Bree taking pinfalls, which again we'll get to later, I think that they should probably just consider at this point if having the title on the line during these tag matches, like if they were to lose as a team, then Nikki loses their title, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the show continues on, and you see Seth essentially arguing with Kane about his decision, and Kane responding with them being on with Steph and Triple H being on vacation, and blah blah blah, and that pretty much moves on to putting Rollins in a match, saying that that's what's best for business, and to our surprise, he ended up being put in a match against Adrian Neville, which I thought was great.
Oh no, absolutely. I gotta say I wasn't that surprised, because I think I forgot which handle it was I was speaking to, but I remember I was thinking like it's either going to be Balor or Neville, so I'm like Balor or Neville. Like I'm getting like on the edge of my seat. Then I saw the superhero image on the video on the Titantron. Then I was like, okay, cool, we're gonna get a high flying match. So
what made you think it would be an NXT guy? I honestly wasn't even thinking. I thought it was gonna be some just I don't know anyone that was like something random, like R-Truth or something. Like I had no idea.
Only reason why, it's just because I've been reading a lot of the backstage notes saying that both Balor and Neville are going to be featured on the main shows a lot within the next couple of weeks. So that was the only reason why. So like I can somewhat apologize to anyone on Twitter that constantly sees me tweeting, hoping Balor is going to be in a match anytime there's a surprise. But I'm just going based on what I've been reading, right? So that was the only reason why. Like other than that, yeah, I was expecting to eat it, possibly like throw out some random person, or even have Rollins versus like Mark Henry, for example. I wasn't expecting, like if I didn't know about the backstage things, I wouldn't have thought it would have been Neville.
Yeah, and the crowd was really into it. He got the NXT chance. The match itself was pretty crisp, I think.
Really good,
yeah, really good match. It was actually interesting to watch for me because I don't follow as much NXT as you, but I did watch a bit when Seth was down there and before the whole Shield formation. And it's interesting to see Seth go up against a guy who's in NXT and just seeing the progress of Seth now. He looks like a legit superstar facing a up-and-comer in NXT as opposed to like a guy who was just in NXT against a guy who's now in NXT. He looked like there's a much bigger gap now, and I think that really speaks to Seth.
Absolutely.
And his work,
even with
with
the way the opening was, typical heel tactics, like kind of digging at Neville, being about, oh, welcome to the big show. I remember how nervous I was when on my very first match. Like, really, I love Rollins as a heel. He's killing it for me.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Were you surprised that it was a straight, clean finish at all, or? I mean, J&J did get on the apron, and then Neville kind of shoved them off, but it ended up ending with Seth eventually just getting him right into that powerbomb turnbuckle spot into the curb stomp. Were you expecting just a DQ with J&J, or did you kind of think that they would have Seth go over it clean, but the fact that Neville would still have a really good showing, like kind of on a respect thing?
Yeah. No, for some reason, only like because Neville hasn't really been put into serious program with anyone. Like he's really just being thrown out into the main roster and seeing what he can do with different wrestlers. But at least they had their moments where they did make him look good. I didn't really care too much for the commentary where they were like, oh, whatever happens, he made his point, making it very somewhat clear that Rollins is going to win the match.
Mm-hmm.
Like JBL and Booker really bugged the hell out of me last night, and that's just one of many points for me.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like, and the world's hating on Byron, and we have those two guys, but we'll get to them either way.
Yeah, for sure.
No, there was a lot of great spots in that match that made Neville look really good, and even made Rollins look good. So you know what? It had to have been like an A on any site that's reviewing the matches.
And then after the match, Seth caught him with another curb stomp.
Yep.
Sort of picking on him there. Do you think they'll continue that at any point? Do you think it's just setting it up for something later down the line, or was it just a one-off, Seth being essentially pissed off that he even had to fight last night?
I think it was just a one-off for now, but I'm pretty, like, Neville will be a future champion. I can guarantee that. When it's going to happen, it's hard to say, but he definitely has the potential to be a really good champion. Maybe, like, hopefully he'll be, like, a mid-card kind of guy. Like, I'm hoping he gets thrown into the U.S. title, IC title situation, but one day he will be the world champion. Like, absolutely. Yeah. He's a future. He has to be.
Yeah, it's looking that way. So the next segment was obviously Cena. He comes out and refers to his match with Rusev happening at Extreme Rules, but then continues on with his open challenge. I'm kind of liking it. I'm kind of liking the fact that I know we're going to see the U.S. title pretty much defended every week. But at the same time, it's a little bit too predictable because you know that he's not ever going to lose any of these matches when there's already a pay-per-view match announced.
Yeah.
But I do like seeing that different guys are coming out. The Dean Ambrose one actually did surprise me last week.
Same thing.
The Stardust one, maybe not so much. Maybe only because he was in the IC title scene before. But again, another decent match. This match was actually quite long, though.
Yeah, no, for a main roster, like, they're really, like, I don't want to say, like, celebrate it too soon because it's only been 2 Raws so far, but so far they've been really actually giving guys generous, like, ring times. Like, it's and it's not, and it's strange because some of them are just these one-off matches, not anything for, you know what I mean, long-term storylines, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I do like the fact that we're actually seeing the title. I think seeing it weekly sort of makes up for, a few years ago when it was literally off TV other than being around someone's waist, like when Dean had it. And as much as I love Dean, that was like one of the worst reigns I could ever remember as far as like him having the U.S. title. And I remember saying in another podcast when even the Shield guys were ribbing him on him even ever defending it.
Yeah. That's when you know it's bad, man.
That's when you know it's bad. And even the fact that the WWE allowed him to even say that in the skit, I found even more funny.
Yeah.
But Cena actually won. He's been doing that springboard, like, backwards stunner now 2 weeks in a row. I'm not sure where this has started. I think did he do it against Rusev too on WrestleMania? I can't remember, but yeah. So I don't know.
It's a strange one, but yeah, you know what? And I've noticed recently. From last week, he's getting a little bit more love from the audience. So I think people like the fact that he's being a very real, wanting to defend the belt on a regular basis. I think people are more identifying that than him and his salutes and everything else that he's doing, right? So, this could be a good thing for the WWE, but I really wish they kept the Rusev match unannounced. Just because now we all know that, there's no way he's going to lose any of these open challenge matches. Are they going to create interesting matches for TV? So far, we're 2 for 2. But at least make it seem like there's a chance that, like, Cena's not going to have the belt. Like, obviously, they're going to have the trilogy between him and Rusev. Cena can say what he wants in promos, but he won't lose the belt before Extreme Rules.
No, I actually agree because I think they could have. I mean, Rusev wasn't even on the show last night. They could have actually had him off the show last week, had Cena do his open challenge, sort of give their feud a little bit of a breather, and then Rusev surprised him in week 2 or 3, or even like last night, week 2, and basically, goes at him for these open challenges and how, he's still entitled to a rematch, and he gave him a rematch. So I totally agree with that. I think that would have been maybe good instead of us already kind of knowing right away after the WrestleMania that he was going to cash in his rematch clause. It would have been nice to sort of see Cena carrying on like Rusev doesn't exist, only for Rusev to sort of surprise him and be like, nope, I'm here and I'm taking that title back, So.
Absolutely. Even if, even for me, like I was speaking to someone about it on Twitter earlier, where I would have liked to even see that as in the week of Battleground. So have Cena make these multiple defenses. Rusev's just off cameras for a good while, and then bring him back the Raw the week of Battleground. Rather, it's Cena wins a match clean or Rusev interferes or whatever the case may be, have Rusev come out and say, you know what, you've been wrestling all these other guys and now I demand my rematch clause. You're like, we're wrestling this week.
Mm-hmm. But Extreme Rules, you mean though, right? Like this month?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. No, sorry, I meant Extreme Rules. My apologies.
Oh, okay.
It's just they had a Battleground ad last night, so it kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah. So I definitely am looking forward to it. I do like the fact that they're doing that. I wonder if it's going to be the case of Cena doing this on Raw while Daniel Bryan's doing the IC title on SmackDown. I think that
they should do it that way. Yeah. We've said it before where we both agree that we miss the days of like the big belts, a big belt being on each TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So like it is limited to kind of restrict one to one show, but at least do something in that sense. Create more value for on TV, right? For sure.
Alrighty, so that brings us now to the Divas match, which was Nikki and Bella versus Paige and Naomi. Mm-hmm. I found this match a little sort of sloppy.
Yeah, it was. There a lot. If we can call a theme, if we can say like there's a general theme for last night, I would call it repeat of previous match storylines, because there are a lot of matches ran exactly the same as stuff that was done in WrestleMania or the week before. Mm-hmm. And this was another one. It was Paige getting beaten up by the Bellas. Naomi comes out, or it was AJ at WrestleMania, comes in for a couple of minutes and wins the match.
Yeah. The whole finish was just really sloppy, like with the way Paige sort of ran over Nikki with that boot to the face and then tackles Brie and then Naomi nails the scissors on Nikki. Like, it just, I don't even know.
Yeah, but everything about Naomi so far has been really bugging me. Like, at least this, like, first off, the rear view is like the stupidest finisher I could ever.
Yeah, that's bad. She needs a proper finisher.
Like, it's very, like, we want to talk about giving divas a chance in equality. That's a very, like, you will never see a male wrestler do that as a finisher. Goldust did that as, like, kind of one of his signature moves back in the day, but come on, like, that's. And I guess now that she's doing that head scissors face plant thing, but that was even landed sloppy last night, right? So
yeah, for sure. So that ended up bringing us next to Ryback, who had his match against Harper.
Good match. Short, but good match.
Short, but yeah, it was pretty solid. I actually might have liked it the most out of the three for sure. Mm-hmm. I was surprised to see Ryback get the complete clean win. I don't know. I think my mind is just always programmed now to expect something dusty. Whenever Orton, Ryback, or Reigns is involved, I'm always expecting them to not get any sort of clean victory. So
hey, man,
it was nice.
It's not your fault that that's how the storylines have been for the last year and a bit. So
I was actually surprised to see Ryback nailed a shell shock where he did and when he did to get that win over Ryback. Even the commentator, I'm not sure if they knew what the finish was going to be, because they were sort of carrying on like there was going to be a kick out. And then you hear JBL go, "Oh wait, he just nailed the shell shock. I think that was the shell shock. This should be it." Like, he had to actually catch himself that like Ryback had just hit his finisher. You know?
Yeah. That was pretty funny actually.
Yeah, but it was good to see, Ryback still gain the reaction that he is, and that'll carry over into the main event later. So before the next match, we actually had a promo, with Renee and New Day.
Oh man, I can't believe they made a promo about it, but that was perfect.
I was actually excited to see this because I really wanted to see how they were going to, address address the reactions that they were getting, and Renee wasted no time, so they've obviously written this into the script about, how it feels, and it was sort of strange because they were sort of being faces, but also being like these, really spiteful heels, like when Big E started talking and making fun of the kids and explaining because I clap, why I clap, and similar to his tweets, he kind of tweeted something similar to that.
Yeah.
And then them clapping. I did have a question for you, and I didn't even bother Googling it. Sure. So, when they clap, the crowd, they do the New Day sucks, right? Yeah. What was the clap even supposed to be? Because I don't remember it ever being anything other than New Day. So, what was the initial clap? What was that third syllable supposed to be if it wasn't sucks?
I can't even remember, to be honest with you. So I'm trying to remember, like, when the very first time they came out. But I still remember even before. I think it's like one of those, like, in pump ups in between the matches.
Yeah, but they weren't saying anything back then, though, right?
I don't think they were, because I remember them doing it and the crowd being like, you hear crickets.
Yeah, and now it's like they pretty much it was only perfect for the crowd to say sucks after.
No, it's true. And the thing that's really cool now is, like, even within that promo, how they said we either clap or we snap, which was, I think, was a little bit of a teaser that, and there's a potential. I can see a heel turn happening with New Day.
Well, I think they have.
They have to. I think it's going that route very soon.
I think they actually technically did last night because of the way that
they were reacting to the jeers from the crowd, or
no, because Kofi, he was on the outside of the ring, remember, and he kicked Kalisto in the head.
Oh yeah. They tried to pull a dirty finish, yeah.
And then Xavier Woods first looked at him like he was confused that he did it because they're quote-unquote faces, and then gave like this sinister smile. And I think that was supposed to be the essential turning.
Oh, wow. I didn't even get that's...
Oh, you didn't see that? Yeah.
So, tweet between that, damn.
Yeah, Kalisto, I'm pretty sure it was Kalisto. I don't think it was Sin Cara. Kalisto was like hanging over the middle rope, and Kofi was on the outside, and Kofi jumped up and gave him like this, sort of modified scissor kick to the head.
I've seen the kick, but I didn't see the communication.
Yeah, and then that's when Xavier looked at him like, why did you do that? And then his face just turned into, yeah, this could work. This should be what we do kind of face, right? So I think that was sort of the bill that they're going for now. And I think they're going to be sort of this, I don't understand why you guys are booing me, but they're still going to be doing bad stuff. Because even when Xavier yelled out New Day and the crowd said sucks, he made this like puppy dog like sort of like,
yeah, I saw that.
He was actually just a pointed face, but I think that's just going to be how they react going forward, and I'm actually excited for that. As far as Sin Cara and Kalisto, I'm really enjoying those two, man. I really do.
True, like they've gone over so much since coming into the fold.
Yeah, and the crowd's digging it with the dance and everything.
Absolutely.
Just realized I skipped over one thing, which was before this match, they had another one of the Primetime Player promos.
Oh, was that beforehand? Oh, my apologies. I missed that on my notes. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's my mistake.
Oh, yeah, we missed that. That was before Ryback and Harper.
Yeah. And I'm actually so glad these two guys are together.
It's
again,
so true. I hate when they were separated. And they're gold together, absolutely.
Oh man, they were making me laugh with their custom made the shoulder pads that were fully knockoff extension pads or whatever.
Yeah, with pylons.
Calling out their whole gimmick. I love it. I think back to that episode of Raw where Titus was with Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler, and they were just having a hoot, laughing over the whole wash rag thing, and it was just really entertaining. I remember because of that day on Raw when Titus was on commentary, they had him on SmackDown right after that as a guest commentator again. It was still entertaining. It wasn't as good, but he's just naturally funny, man. And him with Darren Young, they're a good pair. I'm glad to see them together again. I hope they're actually put into that tag team title scene against Cesaro and Tyson and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think they are building to that though. Yeah, they're definitely building to that. Just from that whole how you see Tyson and Kid and Cesaro, how they were in the back. It's happening.
So that brings us to Roman Reigns versus Big Show for the 20 billionth time.
I seen a post last night that was saying it was Roman Reigns versus Big Show was the new wasn't it Alberto Del Rio versus?
That was me.
No, that was you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was me. There was a meme that made me laugh so hard last year. It was a picture of every single pay-per-view cover where Alberto Del Rio and Sheamus face each other back in 2013, I think it was. And it was like 7 straight pay-per-views or 7 of 8 pay-per-views, something like that. And someone had put them all together in like one big meme, essentially. And I was just like, oh my god, you could essentially just swap this out with Roman and Big Show. They haven't had that many pay-per-view matches, but just the amount of times they're facing each other.
I'm sure we're going to go to the ending, but I have a feeling they're going to be against each other at Extreme.
At Extreme Rules, yeah. And so the one thing I found really interesting was, Roman's obviously getting his chairs are a little lackluster and not where they were before. You're definitely hearing the females and kids a lot louder now. So either the guys are just relieved that he's not in the title picture, or they're just totally indifferent now. Like, I don't know, but and I don't know how it was live, but at least on TV it didn't come off well. But the one thing I found kind of funny about the match is I feel like they're really going to start trying to recreate what happened at Mania with Brock. I don't know if you felt the same.
They did that yesterday with the multiple Superman punches.
Yeah, well, that too, which I was going to get to, but more about him just taking these beatdowns.
Oh yeah.
really like he's on his deathbed when he's getting that. Like that's just what it comes off as now when he's fighting. That he's not going to get much offense, and it's just going to be us trying to pity him for about 5-8 minutes. And I'll give Roman credit again. He's definitely found a niche there. Like he's definitely really good at taking a beating. I'll give him that.
Like I would expect the WWE would be a little bit more creative than that because it's almost very similar to what we see with Ziggler, yeah. But Ziggler obviously now is trying to mount some offense, and even then, like when he does make the comeback, he has so much energy and so much charisma. It's like,
but the thing with
Roman
Ziggler,
doesn't have that.
The thing with Ziggler, I remember about a month and 2 months ago, I started tracking how much offense he got.
Yeah.
I think the last time I tracked it, he got 1 minute and 20 seconds out of the 13-minute match of offense.
Oh wow!
But I don't blame Ziggler. That's what I don't blame Ziggler for, because we've heard it in the reports that his job at one point was just to make other guys look good, really, and sell his ass off. But Roman's supposed to be a guy that's supposed to be improving and showcasing stuff, and he's just still not being given that opportunity, or he's just not improving. I don't know which it is, but and I know you can't do much with Big Show. You're just going to get a safe match, and I don't know if there's any heat between these guys after that day where Roman hit Show a little too hard in the face and made him bleed a bit, and you could hear Big Show swear at him, and Roman kind of swore back like you're a pussy or something like that. But the one thing that's really bothering me with Big Show, and I've said this I think before, I don't know if I've said it on any of our podcasts, but I'm getting tired of the way this guy sells punches.
Yeah, no, we've talked about it in person. I can't remember if we recorded it.
He gets his arm up on every single punch. It's like he's not even being discreet about it.
No,
it's
they're blatantly obvious and awkward.
It's so awkward. It's like, and I feel like he does that with guys he doesn't like or something, because I was watching that other clip a few weeks ago where, prior to Mania, where he was in the ring, where he interrupted Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, and Ric Flair. And Ric Flair was nailing those, jabs to his face, and he took them head on. But with Roman and other guys, he always gets that arm up. He tries to do it, quote-unquote, fast, but you fully see him blocking these punches as he's supposed to be selling them. And it's bad enough that you already have people thinking that wrestling's fake and blah, blah, but then you have a guy like Big Show who's, like, blatantly showing that he's blocking these punches. It's become the biggest pet peeve of mine when I'm watching anything that involves this guy. Like, it just takes away from everything. And I just wonder if he's just trying to protect his face or what, but there's got to be a different way. Like, I can't imagine that Roman's actually hitting this guy so hard that he has to get his arm up for every single hit.
No, it's true. And it's like, it's like you try to suspend reality as a fan to just enjoy and watching wrestling for what it is, right? And then when you see stuff like that, it just destroys the experience.
Absolutely terrible. But anywho, this match was forgettable, long.
Yeah, it was the longest match, but compared to the other two, it was. I don't get it. Like, I was actually worried just because they had such a long match that Roman was going to win in the main event.
It's just that finish, and now that it's like they're trying to devalue the guy's Superman punch. I can understand a guy like Brock not going down, but now Big Show can't go down.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I mentioned that in my notes because then you have in the post-match segment where I think he's with Renee Young, and they're like, "Oh, how do you feel about tonight?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I have this for people in the triple threat match," and he does like the hand cocking. It's like, dude, there's nothing.
Exactly. Like, dude,
it took 3 to knock down the Big Show, or not barely knock him down. Like, come on.
And the worst part of the 3, he goes for a 4th, and somehow Big Show's recuperated and goes
gives
for
him a chokeslam, yeah,
or tries to, because this is a spot that I hate. That choke slam where he lifts him up in the air, but Roman just like hops over to the side, goes off the ropes, and nails him with a spear.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no lift when he even gets him up for the choke slam. It's just I don't know. These guys just don't work good together. I cringe every time these matches are announced. And I hate to be a stickler, but that could have gone to anyone else. I swear.
Yeah, it looks like I think we'll see what the pattern is from next week, but it looks like they're going to try to break away from Roman, going in the corner and really kind of making it clear the spear's coming. Which, it's kind of like, it goes back to, I think it was that Steve Austin thing you were telling me about, where he was like, how did so many wrestlers get hit with sweet chin music, and they can hear the foot tap in the background.
Yeah. Why is it that we never avoided the sweet chin
just like
when we heard the band tuning up?
Yeah, it's the same thing when he does this, woo!
Yeah, exactly. So that led us now to Sheamus coming out. I actually like this promo, and I'm not a fan of Sheamus, but if he's coming back as a heel, like I said, I'm.
No, he did really well. He did
really good. I hate the fact that the way they're using Mark Henry, though. Can this guy not get an actual win? Is he always being used in these just putting guys over now? Is that the point of his career he's in now? But he came out.
No reference to him being out injured for months. He's just now.
He's now just here.
Yeah, he's back and he's helping guys get over. That's all it is.
Yep. So Sheamus obviously went over clean on him with the brogue kick and took a line from Gladiator.
Yeah, that was so.
Yeah. Are you not entertained?
Yeah, it was like. Because I caught that and I'm dying of laughter, and then someone online pointed out to me today that apparently the commentary team called him they called him a Viking.
Oh, did they? I don't know if I even caught that.
And I was just like, what? I'm like, what do you call it? Like, isn't a Celtic warrior like a Celt or like a Viking? That's a completely different part of the world. Like, pick up the history.
Yeah.
Book, man. Come on.
I do like the way he works as a heel, though.
He does. It's more meant for him.
Yeah, it is, and I
don't know about the whole when he walks out here, fella. That seems more like a face thing, but
yeah, but I'm glad they changed his music too because his other music was pretty face-ish, I think. Even though he did have that music when he was a heel before, I'm glad they give him a new persona, and the looks is good, suits him. So I'm curious where they go with this with Sheamus, especially with Barrett and Bryan and Ziggler all fighting for the IC title, but. Yeah, that wasn't bad at all. So that brought us now to a match which I have no idea why it wasn't last week or why it wasn't at some point in the 4 hours of WrestleMania, which was the
Miz Dow, I know.
I felt like this should have had a lot more energy than it did.
Considering all the heat and considering all like the excessive selling, and speaking of excessive selling, on a sidebar here, what do you think about like JBL complaining about his ribs complaining about his a torn abdomen from having an announcing table like pushed on him?
Oh my
God! Mirrors this a little like too much of a boost. I know I tagged you on something on Facebook, like just kind of adding more to that. Like, Mirrors is just a little ridiculous.
It's just way too funny to me. One, that's the most indestructible table of all time, or not even indestructible, just a table that cannot be moved after. It's like it defies all levels of gravity to the fact they couldn't even, poor Saxton and Lawler have to stand up the whole time. They couldn't even lift the thing with, the 20,000 people that are by ringside. Yeah. But yeah, I just find it funny like that JBL would even say anything. This is a guy who's gone through hell as a singles and tag team wrestler. You think a little table push would be no thing since he's gone through tables.
Exactly,
themselves.
Countless tables.
Countless tables.
Sorry. So back to Miz Dow. I just had to throw that jab in.
Well, this match really just had me raise my eyebrow. Like, what the hell is this doing on the Raw after Mania?
Yeah, it should have been addressed a lot sooner because it was like they literally had to spend a good 5 minutes trying to rekindle what has happened between these guys, and it wasn't even like it was that's the kind of stuff you do on pay-per-views, not on Raw.
Yeah,
and even then, with regards to match, it wasn't really. I don't know. No, it was very unforgettable considering the build between these guys.
The Raw after Mania crowd in San Jose was the crowd suited for that match.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think that's where it should have happened if they were going to have the blow-off. And on top of that, Miz got the win. So I don't...
Yeah, clean. Well, not really clean. Tight pull, but that's still the cleanest of all dirty finishes. But yeah, no, I really do hope it could possibly mean maybe a gimmick match between them at Extreme Rules, but... It's just a very disappointing end for weeks of really good little promos and bits between these guys. For sure. I love the Niagara. The Niagara thing was the funny. I had a good laugh over that one, but.
So that was essentially the last match going into now our main event, which was the number one Contenders triple threat between Roman Reigns, Ryback, and Randy Orton. It was odd because I was really curious to see who the crowd would side with, and it seems like the crowd really didn't side with anything. It's like they were just sort of watching it to see who would win, and I think that's always a tough part when you have three faces in it because now you have the crowd split three different ways, and at that point maybe they're not even sure who they should be cheering for. There's this guilt on who they should be cheering for.
Yeah, they don't want to show too much loyalty to one.
And I found out with a lot of the big not the big spots, but the big moves from each guy, some of their signatures and finishers, that there was no reaction at all. Ryback really had to try to get the crowd involved when he was tuning up his meat hook on Roman. And eventually the crowd that was the longest Feed Me More I've ever seen. I think even Ryback was getting frustrated. It got to the point where he had to yell out, Roman, get up. He actually yelled at him right out loud. I know he was probably trying to make him come off like it was in character.
Yeah.
But I think he was actually telling the guy to get his ass up because he was really just.
He was just crawling on the floor.
There's like 4 reps of the chance.
Yeah.
But I think I was actually surprised at how close my prediction was, and I'm not sure if that's a good sign or a bad sign. It's either a good sign in the sense of I can see how predictable the WWE is, or it's a bad sign that I'm just as bad of a writer as the WWE. But I'm not sure which it is. I think I'm gonna go with the latter. I'm gonna go with the former.
Well, considering it's Hollywood writers, right? I'd take it as a compliment, Mikey.
That I just know what they're gonna do. But I had said that I have a feeling that J&J will be involved, and Ryback will get speared and RKO'd for the loss to Orton. But he did get the spear. But that got broken up in the middle when J&J and the Authority came out.
That was a very similar spot to how Roman hit the spear on Brock, right? He put Orton up in the shell shock position, and then he got speared. Like it was exactly the same thing, and it was just I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit too much of a stickler for certain things, but that really set me yesterday.
But even in kayfabe, what was the Authority trying to do? If I was thinking about it now, what was their goal? They didn't care really who won. They didn't who were they trying to screw over in all this?
That was the weird thing. It was like, okay, you see them walking up the ramp, and it didn't make any sense. And then it was like, okay, Roman decides to throw himself out at the Authority, and then he deals with the KO punch from Big Show, setting up a match between them. But yeah, no, it really didn't make any sense. Like I don't know, it didn't. It makes sense when you think of the beginning of the show, but I don't know. It would have been interesting if Rollins was on the commentating booth before, like during the match, and then have all the guys out there from like the entire match, maybe like causing some little interferences here and there, like little distractions, or. But I don't know. It kind of didn't really make too much sense to me. I was really surprised what they were even trying to achieve, but. Well, regardless, J&J interfered. Ryback goes to pull them off for Randy, and then gets caught with the RKO for the loss. So Randy's obviously the official number 1 contender for Orton for Seth's title. Not surprising. I think we kind of assumed that would be the feud for Seth, his first feud going after Another
Mania.
Props to Seth was that like Orton's music played for maybe 2 seconds. Before he came in and gave him a curb stomp, like just. I'm loving the guy as a heel. Like he's just doing everything.
It was pretty smooth too. It wasn't as unbelievable. Like Orton was just kind of getting up after the pin, and Seth caught it perfect. There was no like weird gap or a weird moment where Randy had to pause. Yeah, it was really smooth. That was perfectly timed, and it was a good ending. And I like how Seth. I always like when the title holder is standing above the guy with his belt. It's always a good shot. So. But yeah, so I'm curious how they'll do out week 3. Any other thoughts regarding the show in general?
For me, I'm very happy in general to see that there's longer matches, but they has to be the right guys putting on these matches though. Yeah,
I was disappointed to not see Brian. I don't know if that was even announced that he wouldn't be on the show. But I was hoping to see him in some sort of capacity.
Yeah. It seems like what you're saying with the IC title being SmackDown and the US title being Raw is going that way, because they already announced that it's going to be Bryan's going to be on SmackDown again. I think it's a tag team match with him and Ziggler versus Barrett and Sheamus. And something that's actually interesting is apparently WWE app last night announced that Barrett has announced his rematch clause.
Oh.
Yeah, and it wasn't addressed at all on Raw. Like, I saw the tweet, and then I saw a couple of sites talking about it today, and it just seemed so weird to me.
Didn't they address it during Sheamus' skit before he came out?
Did they?
I'm not sure. They only showed the clip of what he did to Bryan, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though Bryan's going to be the guy carrying the ice head on SmackDown, I always found that no matter who's the primary guys on SmackDown, they always have them on Raw. Mm-hmm. It's usually the other way around, where you don't see some of the Raw guys on SmackDown, like a Cena or really Cena and Punk at one point was never on SmackDown either.
Well, we're not at that point with the two brands, like, so it's kind of weird to have that, like.
Exactly.
It's like they almost should go back to that concept and have, and maybe even have Sting as the GM for SmackDown or something, right? Mm-hmm. Have Authority on one show and have him as GM for another. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. Agreed there.
Yeah.
Well, that's all my thoughts on the show. It was okay. No, it wasn't okay. I didn't really like it at all, to be honest. I felt off a little bit of momentum. I just don't like when you see guys in the main event that have to fight all through the show, because then it takes away from their entrances and the crowd's involvement later, right? If their entrances come out flat because they've already kind of seen them. But I don't know.
But yeah, no, that, like I said in the very, very beginning, and even something I can add to it, it's just it's a very pointless concept if it's used incorrectly. And even with last night, all the guys, Roman had a tough match, but all the other two matches were fairly short, and it wasn't like any of the guys sustained any injuries or anything that would make it difficult for them to win a number one contenders match. Mm-hmm. I think the only thing that happened was, the way Ryback landed the shell shock, he was holding the back of his head, and then I guess it was somewhat forgotten by the time of the main event. If that carried over, then it's okay, cool. That kind of stuff makes those matches a really a direct connection.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's working the knee that Big Show took. The Big Show was working earlier in the night, or something like that, right? But by the time that match happened, it was literally 10 minutes left in the show. And even then, they actually ended earlier than usual last night.
Yeah, there's barely any overrun. And I usually record all the way till 11:30 just to be safe. Yeah, because I've already got burnt a few times when I've done only 5 or 10 minutes after. So, well, let us know what you guys think. Follow us on Twitter under kayfabe6. We love chatting with you guys during Raw. It was a lot of fun going back and forth with everyone last night. And as far as our YouTube channel, we would definitely appreciate some more subscriptions along with some likes and comments. And we'll see you, I guess, maybe for a SmackDown recap.
Awesome. Have a good one.